Welcome to the Experience Matters podcast with your host, Kent Clothier Sr., and your co-host, Kevin Homel.
So, tell you what we're going to do here for the next hour or so. Have some of our investors on the stage that are own anywhere from a couple of properties to more than 5 properties, and we're going to hear from them this morning. I want to let them introduce you. I want to introduce you to Kevin Homel on the other end. When I first started doing my podcast 5 or 6 months ago, which much different from Joe's podcast, a few minutes of what he does, but Kent Jr. got me involved in starting the podcast, and it's Experience Matters. And Kevin, how many have we done?
Probably on number 13, 14.
Number 13. Kevin's my co-host on them, and we started off doing audio, and I think today most of them are audio and video, of course. But what I started with was going back and starting through 50 years of working, and probably 30 years of those as an entrepreneur. So those of you that want to go back and look at some of them, they're on our website, memphisinvest.com. You can scroll down, and they're there, and all the titles are there. Then I think they're on SoundCloud,
Stitcher, iTunes.
and they're on iTunes. And if you go and you take a look at them and you like them, leave us a comment on there. Joe's is a little bit different. I've done just a couple of interviews on there, and Kevin and I pick a topic and we discuss it, and he fires the questions away at me, and we have conversation back. And they're no more than, I think some of them are 10 or 11 minutes, and some of them go up to maybe 22, 24 minutes. So today we're going to use this as our latest podcast that goes up first part of next week. So I wanted to take a second and introduce you and let these folks introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about their background. Then also we're going to have questions from you guys in the audience this morning for our investor panel this morning. So, but let me tell you a little bit about Kevin first. Kevin came to our company about how many years ago, Kevin?
6.5.
6.5 years ago. And we were at a point where our growth was really starting to scale. And as an entrepreneur, he had the skills to do everything that I really didn't want to do. And as an entrepreneur, we just want to grow the business, scale the business, take care of the customers, and just buy and sell, buy and sell, buy and sell. And he had the skill set coming out of the banking industry obviously the banking side. So he handles the banking side for us, which is a lot today. All of our private lenders, which is a lot today. Our insurance, oversees our HR, our accounting, anything legal that comes up in our company, and all that boring stuff that us as entrepreneurs, we don't want to do, right? But it has to be done, all right? And as our company got bigger, and today has 80 employees, and Kevin has a whole department of accounting people that work in our property management and in our investment business, and he oversees all that. So he's a great balance for me. We have back and forth a lot of times. We get into probably some things that he doesn't like that I do and say sometimes, but anyway, we've found balance, and he does a great job for us and kind of keeps me level-headed. And usually at the end of our meetings, I always refer to him and I say, Kevin, now go clean all this mess up here that I've said and get us back on track here. So
yeah, my real title is janitor. So
after I finish talking, I say, now Kevin, clean all that up for me. How should I have said all that stuff? So let me introduce these folks. Who would like to go first? Want to start here?
Yeah, I'll start. My name's Doug Bennett. I'm an entrepreneur. Just a little bit about my background, maybe a little bit different from some of you out in the audience, maybe not, perhaps. I started a very capital-intensive manufacturing plastic injection molding business back in 1983, and grew the business and sold it in 2012. And throughout that period of time, paid myself a salary, but not an exorbitant salary. Never took any money out of the business because I had to plow everything it made if we made money, and there was years we didn't. So We went through ups and downs and a lot of that stuff in the manufacturing business. Plowed it all back into the business, so all my eggs were in one basket. So I had no money for investing or doing anything other than my own business. But being an engineer, I was a problem solver. If something came along, I just solved it and moved on to the next issue. So I wasn't a business major, so I didn't know what risk I had. So I never worried about going out of business. I just assumed I would just keep going, which the good Lord provided for me, and I did. I was successful in all that. I got to a point where I had 250 employees, 35 million in sales, and owed the banks $11 million, okay? So I was deeply in debt and all personal guarantees, my wife and I. So those of you know that, that means that if you do go down south, they get everything you own except your kids, and maybe even those. I don't know about that. So when my goal was to sell the business, okay, and retire on the proceeds in the lifestyle that my wife and I are comfortable with. So I had to create a number. I had to create backwards what my number was going to be. And I thought, well, I'll be very conservative. And if I had that kind of a number at 5%, we can live off of that. And I thought that was a conservative number. You know, that was back when people were making, 10, 12%, I suppose, in the market and whatnot. Well, when I sold, all of a sudden, I was risk averse. I didn't care about risk when I was in my business. And why? Because I knew my business. It's something I knew. So I didn't feel it was a risk there. Probably like the people at Memphis Invest. You know real estate. You don't feel that's a risk. Now, all of a sudden, when I get out, I got this lump of money, and it's like, what do I do with it? All of a sudden, I became risk averse. I didn't want to take any risk, because I didn't want to lose it, because I had to live off of that, my wife and I. And at my age, I'm 70 and a half right now. My dad died at 76, my mom died at 80. I'm not planning on dying anytime soon, but my event horizon's a lot shorter than a lot of you in the audience are. So one of the things I want to do is diversify my proceeds from my sale, and real estate was one of those things. So I was fortunate enough to belong to an organization years ago, while I was running my business. It was an organization of CEOs and business owners. And one of their speakers on a week we met monthly was Boaz Rauschberger. You guys know Boaz. Mm-hmm. He's one of your clients. He sent out an email to all of us that subscribed to his newsletter and said, I just did a program. I think he did a program for you guys. He's an inspirational kind of a speaker like you saw yesterday. And he said, these guys are so great, I invested with them. So he said that he recommended that all those that were getting the email do it. Well, I took it to heart, and I called you guys up and came out and looked at you. And you've all seen today and yesterday the kind of organization is. Well, I just signed on the dotted line right away and invested a good portion of my proceeds with the company. So that's my history to Memphis Invest. So.
Doug, you became a client in 2013, I believe.
I did.
You have 6 houses with us today.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right.
Next gentleman.
Roy?
Okay. My name's Roy Evans. I've been with y'all since 2014, but I started talking to Rick with your company in September of 2013. Took me almost a year to get comfortable enough, but I've invested with y'all and I'm very happy with it. I spent several years as a community development director in Southern California. Then I was a consultant for various communities. I had 188 counties and cities that were part of our group. And my business partner became an unindicted co-conspirator for the city of Irwindale when they made an offer to Al Davis to negotiate moving the Raiders to basically it was a quarry in Irwindale. They were trying to redevelop their community. And while I was busy building 378 houses for the city of Irwindale, he was busy trying to build up their industrial base. Needless to say, that tanked our business. I opened a punk rock club, and I had the longest running punk rock club in Southern California. We were open for 8.5 years, and the Rodney King riots closed us down because the county imposed a curfew. that said all businesses had to be closed by 5:30 for 30 days. And what that did was our business was at night. We'd already had over $200,000 in contracts for various bands to perform during that time period. There is no clause in the contracts that says, if the county closes you down for the month, you're not liable for the money. So I relocated back to Texas. I grew up in El Paso, Texas, and I've got lots of family around Texas. And in Texas, I worked for Home Depot for several years. Then I've been working for H-E-B Grocery for the last 18 years. And I enjoy coming to the conferences because I learn a lot. I learned from Scott today that the money that I've already have with Bridge Capital, I've been paying off on the houses, but it's possible to leverage the 2 houses that I have with you guys to buy a 3rd house possibly, and that's what we're going to start looking at.
There you go.
And then I talked to Amanda, and I've been talking to Amanda's company for a couple of years. When I retire in a couple of years, I have a Roth 401k, and I can self-direct that, roll it over. And theoretically, it should be able to afford 2 to 3 houses, depending upon the value of the houses. So we're talking about leveraging that.
There you go.
So you got punk rock and white rapper. That's you got more than you thought you were coming for, I think. So, Anthony,
No extra for that, right?
that's right.
I think my story is a lot simpler. I'm a simple guy. Had very simple beginnings in Mississippi. I think my first venture in real estate was like 2002, and it wasn't the perfect thing. You know, I learned a lot from it. Came on board with Memphis Invest, started talking to them in 2014, and acquired my first property in 2015. And I guess away from real estate, still learning, you know, trying to expand. But the model that they have, I saw a lot of different models, was something that worked for me. You know, consider my family and work life, and it'll position me for later on. So my goals are maybe different than some, but some of my initial investments are secondary to finance, you know, help supplement retirement, but it'll also finance my children's education. So I'm on track to do that, you know, here in the next, I guess I'll be positioned next 5 or 6 years to do that. So I'll acquire more. I have some other properties. I guess I have 3 properties with Memphis Invest, and I have a couple other properties with a smaller property management company in Virginia. But I guess away from real estate, I work, my background is engineering also, and I do a little engineering, project management. That's kind of what I've done for the past 25 years or so. But that's it, pretty simple guy. I'm also living in the DFW area, but I'm way northeast, maybe like 65, 70 miles from here. My properties with Memphis Invest, I like the Memphis area, and the price points will allow me to accomplish what my goals were there, haven't acquired anything in the Dallas-Fort Worth or Houston market or any other markets yet. So I'm a pretty simple guy. I like the integration of what all they do, and it allows me to, you know, do other things with my time. And I've renovated properties before and flipped and, you know, things like that. But for this point in my life, the model of what you do, you know, works really well for me. So, you know, everybody has their different goals, but, you know, I like what they do. I don't have to think about it. I've never lost a moment's sleep or anything, you know. In the same way with the team in Virginia, but they're just a smaller outfit, much smaller and local to that market. So that's about it.
Very good. Thank you, Freddie.
I didn't write any books. I'm not a rapper, so kind of boring guy. But I live in Chicago currently right now. I'm in sales, and I come from a finance background. So for a while, receiving calls of people freaking out about what they, you know, saw on the news, should I pull out my investments or whatever, and in currently having people manage my money now, I started realizing that I needed to diversify, just like in the stock market today. So my brother actually introduced me to Memphis Invest. And at that time, I think 2011, I just wanted to beta test it. I said, you know what? I was like, let me just watch, because one day at Christmas he comes home, he's like, yeah, I found this great idea. These guys are all about spreadsheets. They're, using technology and using these portals to show me, hey, these are my pictures. These are the scopes of work that's taking place. And I was a little reluctant, needless to say. But pulling back the layers, I started realizing it's really no different than giving a financial investor your money. The only biggest difference is that I don't have people that I can't touch. I have actually like tangible asset that I can reach out, and worst case scenario, I sell it. Opposed to someone having a note that can completely be obliterated. So that made me a little more comfortable. And as we heard yesterday from Than, it is truly an inflation hedge. So, but I'm here today. I started with you guys in 2013 and own 6 properties. I'm definitely not going to stop, because I'm not at the highest point in my career, but I'm fortunate enough where I do have some income comes in that I can push to you guys, and like I said, you guys give the peace of mind, which is truly invaluable, which is great.
Thank you.
Great.
Well, Kevin, let's get a question here.
Well, I want to set the tone first, because for you out there that haven't been to one of our events yet, the reason we do this is for you that are wondering if this is real. You heard Kent say yesterday, we'll put investors in the room with prospects, people that are still kind of touching us and feeling us, to see if it's real. And the best way to do that is to bring them up here. We'll ask them some questions, then we're going to let you ask them some questions. And I think we've told them, no, nothing's out of bounds, nothing's off limits. To be honest, you have different levels of investment here. Some are in the wow, some are not. A well-rounded group of folks for you to listen to, learn from, and ask questions of. So my first question, Ken, if you don't mind, is to anyone who wants to answer it. You've either been to our events before, you've been to this one as your first one possibly. Have you been to see all of the houses that you own?
I haven't seen any.
None.
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 No, I got pictures of them at home.
There you go.
And then for me, 4.
4.
Yep.
Yeah. And so the ones that have said none, and I think Anthony or Freddie, you were the one that said you put your head down at night and can sleep. That's what our vision is for our team every day, is to do our job so that you can do that. What gives you the comfort level to make that first step, and then what gave you the comfort level to continue to build your portfolio, having never seen your properties?
I guess I'm holding the mic. I studied it a lot, and I asked a lot of questions, and like I had done some things before, and I've dealt with property managers that I felt I was working harder than they were. And after going through that, I had to draw back a property one time in Virginia from a friend that was doing property management, and I turned it over to the other property manager, and like I said, I was just like getting calls left and right, just all the time. And so I haven't had that issue there. Since I bought the one last year, I talked to Carol once a month, then it kind of backs off. But yeah, we got the portal. I look on there when the statements come in. If I have any questions, I can always call. It's just, I've never, I guess just even this short time, I haven't, have maybe a property even vacant for more than a month when one was transitioned. But all the others, some of them was 2 year. So, as long as it's accomplishing my goals, I'm not taking anything out. So, my goal is maybe 5 years from now. Mm-hmm. So, I rest good at night. Nobody calls me. Let's see. I wouldn't even know the tenant if I was talking to him. So that's where they were, all of them. So, and I guess the property in Mississippi, that's the only property I know that I have that I know who the tenant is. When I look at it. But.
Okay. Roy, what about you?
I'm very comfortable. Like I said, it took me a while to decide to come with y'all, but I like the fact that I met Rick at another event, and he kept presenting different options and different houses that were available, and he would occasionally send me an email with pictures of houses. then when we started looking at the financing, I was negotiating with Bridge Capital, and there were a couple questions that came up, and I ran them past Rick, and they didn't seem quite right, and he called and said, well, let me check them out. And we had a misunderstanding between the person who was at that time employed by the other company and what was actually going on with the financing. And he was trying to make it recourse financing, and Bridge doesn't do recourse, they do non-recourse financing. And that's why it didn't make sense to me that he wanted all sorts of personal financial information and background information. And apparently he had a side business or something, but he's no longer with them. I dealt with Teresa then right after that. Well, I dealt with Ryan for a while too, and then she got promoted to be your executive assistant or something. And then I dealt with Teresa, and Teresa was very friendly and outgoing when she would call. She's, I understand, left and gone to work for St. Jude's Hospital there. And she's talked to me a couple times since she went to St. Jude's Hospital, because we developed a sort of a friendship over the phone and also at 2 of your events that she was at. And now I'm with Jill, and Jill's been doing a great job for me.
Good.
So just the courtesy and friendship that has developed over the years.
Fantastic. Doug, what gives you the comfort level?
Well, I think I mentioned when Boaz led me on to you guys, I called up and I came out, and that's what all I needed was I just saw your organization, plus his kind of endorsement, because I respect him as an inspirational speaker, and he sees a lot of companies. That's what he does as a business. So he sees good ones and bad ones, and when he really finds one that treats their employees and their customers like you guys do, it's the way I tried to run my business, and it's a challenge, when you're dealing with a lot of people. So I could see it in your organization, so that's what gave me the trust that I didn't have to see the properties. You wouldn't present them to me if they weren't viable investments, so that's why I did it.
Great. How many folks in the audience have listened to one of our podcasts so far, an episode or more? Did anybody listen to Kent's entire entrepreneurial journey? There was about 5 or 6 episodes in a row. One of those was on the investment in customer service that separates us from everyone else in this business. Kent, why don't you talk a little bit about that, because that is a common theme in every one of their answers there.
Well, again, as I talked yesterday, I have an obsession with customer service, the client experience, whether it's myself or it's any of you folks. If I go to, it's like those of you that were at the WOW dinner last night. How many were at the WOW dinner last night, all right? So when I sat down with Ryan Woolbright, and the service there was phenomenal last night, wouldn't you agree, all right? Because I went over with her the details of how many people that we wanted waiting on our table, when we wanted certain food to drop, how quick we wanted it to happen, didn't want the water glasses ever to get below half empty. Those are the kind of details that I look at, and because it's about that experience that we want to have. And some of my staff sometimes thinks I'm a little overboard with this stuff, all right? But it's what we want to do for everybody in our company. Yes, the clients are very, very important, but it's only one of the 4 core things that I look at. And the other one is when I walk into our property management company and I see more than one person waiting at the window to be waited on, and we have 2 people sitting in the back, somebody come and take care of these folks, because I don't want anybody to wait for anything. And then I told you yesterday about our vendors, and we have a vendor lunch here Monday where I get a chance to go around and talk to all of our vendors, and how are we treating you? How are our field people doing? Are you getting your money on time? I want them to have a great experience. Then our staff, and I told you yesterday about our staff that we have a very flexible schedule. We treat them the way that we want to be treated. So I want to make sure that everybody at all 4 of those levels have a great experience with us. And I'm probably more over the top with it than people really realize that I am. And because I understand if we take care of those 4 groups of people, in any business, you're going to be successful. You're going to be successful, and people will want to do business with you when they know that you have that kind of a team of people. And that's, again, I talk about it in the podcast several times about the service and how important that aspect is, because nobody today cares about it. And I've talked to people. No, your stockbroker is not going to call you every month and tell you how your portfolio is doing. We will do that. We will call you. And even today, when I sit down with our customer service people and talk to them about how many people they connected with in September, and we'll still have a handful of investors every month that say, you don't have to call me. And I don't get that. I don't get that, all right? Because minimum you have 150 to 200,000 invested with us for one house. And if you have 4, 5, 6, you got 500,000, $1 million invested, and you don't want us to tell you what's going on with your property. Are you kidding me? No, don't call me anymore. But you're going to call us as soon as something happens, okay? But we just try to be forward and on the offense with keeping you, good or bad, updated with what goes on. And we actually calculate every month, and I get it, and again, it's one of these details, that how many negative calls we made that month, that you had to move out, or that we have a vacancy, versus how many positive phone calls that we make every month. Congratulations, we have a new tenant. Congratulations, we got your house renewed. Congratulations, whatever. And we actually look at those, and I measure how many positive phone calls we make to all of our investors versus sometimes we have to give bad news. And it usually runs about 65-45 because we do have vacancies, and there is a maintenance call, and sometimes somebody doesn't want to renew. So that customer experience in whatever business, as an entrepreneur out here, a young person, and over the weekend we had great speakers up here, even today, but I don't hear anybody talking about that. And we are the only ones that really talk about it. And when people ask, why have you all been able to do this? We have a great team, great systems, great people, but we understand what the pressure points are. The point, it's not about the house. It's not about it. People, oh, you're in the house when you flip. No, I'm not in the house. I'm in the people business. I'm in the customer service people that happen to be in the real estate business. And when we create that experience for people that's unbelievable, that they're speechless about what happens. They call me every month. And when you tell people that, they just don't believe it. And so everybody went one way, and I decided to go another way. And that's why when we have investors and we have people in the room like you folks that are current investors, and again, I said this yesterday, I'm rambling here a little bit, but people when I go to different other type of events, they said, you let all the customers talk to each other? Really? What if there's a bunch of bad stuff in there? Well, then you're not doing your damn job, okay? And I've never had a problem with that. And if we do our job every day and we bring 50 investors, 100 or 500 together to all talk about each other, I'm pretty sure they're going to be talking about a lot of good stuff. Are they going to talk about some tenants and some toilets and a vacancy and a move? Sure, because that's why we're here. That's what happened. That's part of the risk that we take. But how we minimize it is taking care of it for you. And so that was a long answer about what you asked me, but you know how I feel about this particular subject. And I talk all the time in our company about it and inspire our people to do a better job of talking to people. How many people have ever been to our office in Memphis? And you notice that when you walk around, you go to our offices, everybody gets out of their desks, they come to the door, they greet you, they don't wave, hey Joe, thanks for being a customer, have a nice day, and they go back to Facebook, okay? No, we have a method over here. We take people on a tour, our people are out of their desk, and it's not just for clients, it's for anybody that comes in, and to meet and greet and talk to people and be appreciative of everybody that comes and sees us, and when we have the opportunity to serve you guys.
Freddie, I think you had a comment.
Yeah, and I just want to jump on your coattails, Ken, because so being in sales myself professionally, I can understand that. I've always told clients, I'm like, listen, and I was actually talking about this last night, I'm not going to be the most expensive, but I'm definitely not going to be the cheapest. And I can tell you with you guys, yeah, I mean, there's other options. I mean, there's people that will approach me and say, hey, Freddie, I heard you're investing in some properties. You want to get involved with our group. But it all comes down to when you say the people experience, I wholeheartedly agree because it's all about that partnership. And you guys are not perfect. And then the one thing that impressed me the most because we're all people, we all make mistakes, it's where does that onus go to? And so there was two things that surfaced with me personally. And when, I brought it up to your guys' attention that I had a question, it wasn't like, well, Freddie, that's your deal. Good luck. We got something else. It was like, okay, well, let's talk about it, see what happened, and it was the ownership was taken and it was rectified. 0 questions. And then same thing with a tenant issue. And so when a tenant issue came up, it was like, hey, Freddie, what's going on in the situation. These things happen. It was explained, and it was, again, to allow me to build that trust in your guys' business model, which, like I said, holds me true because my brother and I talked about it. Like, do we have other options? Absolutely, we do. But it's about building that partnership, dealing and providing that value to your customer. That's the invaluable part.
Well, and we hear that a lot about people, well, your houses are too expensive and I can go get 12 or 14% return. Go get it. And then see if you have the type of property management that we have. See if those companies do the right things one time when you get a $300 bill and it comes to me and I said, let's just go ahead and eat it. Let's do the right thing. Let's take care of it. That's not going to happen. And that's what happens with us. And I don't even want to tell you the number that we eat every year. It would shock you that the number that when it comes down and it gets across my desk or Brett's or Kevin or Chris and we just say, let's do the right thing. How long have they been with us? They've been a great investor with us. Let's do the right thing. We'll eat it. And that's why we've been able to grow our business. And I will tell you that we're not the cheapest. And but when you look at the overhead that we have and 80 employees and the value that we bring to investors, and we're going to be here year after year after year and always doing the right thing. And again, we talked about visits a minute. We invite anybody in the room to come. You're going to see our Texas office down here in a few minutes. Come to see our Memphis office because it's completely different. We have, what do we have there, Kevin? 4 buildings, 3 of them that we use, house 60 employees over there. It's like a whole campus that we have there. But it's just a little bit different.
Yeah, 4,500 properties, as we've heard a couple times this week, or this yesterday and today already. We've bought about 700 houses so far this year. We'll get to around 900 or so. Every year we do that, we add to the property management company. All of the things that you're hearing are the result of the precision that Kent instills in all of us every single day. So you'll see it when you meet our Dallas staff, when you go to the lunch. You'll see it if you ever come to Memphis. By the way, we have 2 or 3 visitors every single week in Memphis. We love it because it gives us a chance to show off. More and more, it's people that aren't already clients, and we love that. That's fantastic. That's what separates us from everybody else. And you see the folks get up out of their chairs, come shake your hand, tell you a little bit about what they do, and then we already have prepared them for who you are when you come through the office. That's just precision at every level, like the dinner last night and like the things that you experience out and around.
It's just the pursuit of excellence, and that's what we try to do in all phases of our business. And I know a lot of people say that's all. You just got to talk to other people in the room that have experienced that, because most of the people for the first time that meet us, they don't do all that stuff. Really, it's all kind of corny. And does any business really do that? Do they really care that much? Are you really family? I don't know. Talk to these folks here. Talk to these people. Let them tell you. And like I said yesterday, we're probably not for everybody. And if a person is looking at a house and we can get a real quick feedback on what type of investor we have, and we had one a couple of weeks ago where they came over and told me the guy wants to see 3 different applications on his rental agreement before he approves somebody to put in the house. Time out. This is not going to be good here, okay? So that's what you're paying us to do. That's our job. So we got to go back and kind of reset here that we'll take care of this for you. And although we have a 30-day agreement on our property management agreement that everybody signs, that I can give you a notice or you can give me a notice or whatever, we tell everybody, I'll tear that thing up in a minute if you don't want to be with us. And but you got to let us do our job. And we have a whole underwriting department that approves applications in both cities. And we track every one of those numbers. I think we can tell you last month we approved 58% of the applications and turned down 42% of them. And so we know what we're doing here. Let us do our job like you guys do, and we will get you the results. And we have a proven track record of 10, 12, 14 years, 4,500 houses. We have this down pretty good. And all we're doing is expanding it and trying to get better every day.
Thank you for joining us on Experience Matters. You can listen and subscribe to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. Be sure to visit us at memphisinvest.com.